Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्णा पिताजी जी, मुझे मेरी ईमेल नहीं ओपन हो पा रही, मुझे जूम आईडी दे दो प्लीज।
हाँ श्योर, एक सेकंड।
सॉरी फॉर बॉदरिंग।
नहीं नहीं, ऐसी कोई बात नहीं, ऐसी मत बोलो। Just try to figure out how to find it without putting it out completely. Oh, you know what? Just hold on. Okay, meeting ID. Hold on, so make sure it's the right one. Meeting ID is 870 0358 0922 and password is 597 921. If it doesn't work, then try Gaura Hari, Gaurahari. No, Gaura. Hari. Sub small. हाँ. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Good luck for everything.
Thank you. Hare Krishna, everyone. Can everyone hear me? Okay, hold on. Can you hear me?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, great. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So I'm waiting for a few more people. I'm going to start after that.
Hare Krishna, Pitashri.
Hare Krishna, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Very good, thank you. I'm glad you could make it.
Yes, finally.
Finally doesn't matter. I'm glad you're here.
ओके पिताश्री, मैं एक बार उन फ्रेंडों से भी चेक करती हूँ, कभी उनका भी कुछ प्रॉब्लम ना हो तो मैं चेक करके अभी बैक आती हूँ फिर.
हाँ, प्लीज. थैंक यू.
हरे कृष्ण बाबा.
हरे कृष्णा. How are you, Krishna?
कैसे हो?
Okay. Is your sister going to join us?
Yes, she will.
Okay.
Let me check with her.
Sure. And I see Prem Prabhu there. Mataji, Madhu Mataji, Hare Krishna. Who else? Let me see. Sonia Mataji, I can't see you, but Hare Krishna. You're mute. Malvika, Hare Krishna, welcome. Shama, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
How are you?
I'm good, thank
So good to see you. And I see Satvik behind you.
you.
Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. How are you?
Sonia.
Sorry? Sonia, huh? How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Prabhuji?
Very nice.
Thank
Maybe
you for arranging a class, Prabhuji. I really want to say thank you, first of all.
Oh, so first of all, I want to thank you for coming. I really appreciate it. And can we see you, Mataji?
I want to say thank you to, you know what, I don't know how to turn the video on in this one.
Okay,
So,
let me try it.
hide self view, hide non-video participant, rename, start video, maybe this can be.
Oh,
Yes.
there you are. Yes, I can see you
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna, that's nice.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
It's easier to relate then.
Yeah. And I want to say thank you to Nandi Mukhi Mataji too, to arranging every single thing. And she was doing really hard work.
We should both thank her. Yeah, she did work very hard.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. And Himani, how are you? Hare Krishna. I can't hear you on mute. That's better. Hare Krishna. Twinkle, Hare Krishna. And Astha, ¿cómo está?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. How are you?
Thanks. How are you?
Good, Twinkle. Thank you, Astha. How are you doing?
Doing well, doing well.
That's nice. Nice. Okay, Aarti, Hare Krishna.
Hi, Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Neetu, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good to see you. I don't see you actually. I just see your name here.
Here.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Hare Krishna.
Hari Bol. Should we leave our video off? Because you don't want to be.
Personally, I prefer to see it on, but it's up to you.
You prefer to see it off?
On, O-N.
On. Okay, okay. Okay.
But if you're shy, you can turn it off. That's okay.
Oh, what do you think?
Not you.
Exactly.
Okay, 2 more minutes, then we'll start. I have about 17 people. I was expecting about 26. And I think I saw Melanie here somewhere.
I'm here.
There you go. Hey, Hare Krishna, Melanie. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Very good. Very good. So glad you could join us.
Thank you. Thank you for hosting this. I'm very excited.
You're very welcome. Oh, me too. Very, very excited.
Prabhuji, I have a humble request.
Yes.
Since, like Satvik is 5 years old and sometimes he keeps coming. So I seek your permission to keep my audio, video off. But whenever you're talking, then I can keep it on.
Oh, no, that's fine. That's fine. I was just kidding. That's fine.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's perfectly all right. And I see Anshu and Nita Matajis. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Shilpi.
Hare Krishna. Anshu.
Anshu, how are you? Can we see you, please?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Just a minute.
Yeah, no worries.
This is like the most polite Zoom call I've ever been on.
Polite? You haven't started yet.
Yeah. I mean, all the ones for work are just like not polite, but like this is so polite. It's like humble. humble.
Yeah, there you go. Hare Krishna, Aruna Mataji. Okay, so listen, let's get started. It's 8:05. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask every one of you to please take turn, say your name and the city you are in. And that's all I need to know at this time. So please keep your video on when you introduce yourself so people can see who you are. That's easier to relate to when you can see your face and the name together. Okay? So anybody can start, doesn't have to be alphabetical, but Asta, you right there on the screen.
I'll start. I
You
will
will
be more
start.
than happy to start. I'm Asta. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I'm gonna be the loudmouth on these calls. No, I'm joking. I'm from Los Angeles. I'm in Los Angeles currently. It's like 5:06 p.m. right now. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Okay. Who wants to go next?
Yeah, hi, I'm Anshu and I'm from Toronto.
Hi, Anshu. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay.
Hare Krishna, my name is Sonia and I'm from Vancouver. It's almost 5 or 6 after 5 o'clock.
Thank you, Mother.
And,
Hare Krishna.
and my niece will be coming soon. She's almost 7 years old, 7.5 years old. She really wants to see, like, you know, what we are talking about.
Sure, that's great.
Yeah, and my sister-in-law, she is coming too. And one of my friends, she just left her job right now. And she's going to be going to join this class.
That's great.
Minutes.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna. Go ahead. Next.
Hi, Bo. I'm Neetu. I'm from Toronto.
Thank you, Neetu. Hare Krishna. Okay.
Hi, Hare Krishna. I'm Twinkle. I'm currently in Windsor.
Hari Bol. Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Hi, Bo. My name is Malvika, and I'm from Calgary, Alberta.
Hey, Malvika, how are you?
Good, how are you? I see
Very
Asta that's pounding to that.
Yes. Okay, keep going. Keep going, please.
Hare Krishna. I'm Shama. I am in Mississauga.
Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Okay.
Krishna, this is Krishna and I'm from Toronto, New
Hare
Navnatha.
Krishna, Krishna. Jai.
Hi Krishna everyone, I'm Radhama and I'm from Waterloo.
Hi, Ridhima, how are you?
I'm good, Prabhuji, how are you?
Very good, thanks. Hare Krishna.
Hi Krishna.
Okay.
Hi, Hare Krishna. My name is Melanie and I'm from Toronto.
Melanie, Hare Krishna. Okay.
Hare Krishna. And
This is Vineet.
yes, Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. So glad you joined us. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Okay.
I'm in Toronto, of course.
You're in Brampton, right?
Brampton, yeah.
Okay. Anybody else wants to introduce themselves?
Hare Krishna, Tashri Nandimukhi from
Hari Bol.
Vancouver. Hare Bol.
She's the person who got so many people from Vancouver to join us.
Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you. Thank you for your work. Okay. Who has not introduced themselves?
Hi, my name is Aarti and I'm from Toronto.
Hare Krishna, Aarti. Okay. So, Premji, you being shy?
Should be joining them.
Hare Krishna. Okay. I think we should start now. It's 8:09 already. And so once again, thank you very much for joining. I'm very, very excited. It's something I'm doing for the first time, trying to explain Bhagavad Gita in a way that, excuse me, in a way that at least I have not heard anybody explain Bhagavad Gita. And the thought that I had in my mind when I decided to do this is that a lot of times we hear, a few verses, the explanation in great detail, but you don't get the whole picture. There are other classes where you can get into deep philosophy, but the question always stays, so why did this all happen? And what does it mean to me? And one thing that I've always advocated, that when we study scriptures, we should study from three perspectives. One is, what's the context? What is actually being said? What happened that caused this particular statement to be made? The second is, I say, so what? Why do I care? How does it apply to me? I mean, it's great to know deep philosophy, can impress people with the verses you have memorized, all those kind of things, but so what? If I'm spending my hour, 2 hours, or whatever, what am I getting from this? So that's the second point. And the third point is, so how can I use it, not just in my life, but help others understand the points being made so they can use it in their life? So it is with those three perspectives that I thought I will start these classes. And that's why I've said multiple times, I'm not going to get into verses, I'm not going to get into deep philosophy, but I'm going to keep emphasizing upon what's happening, why is whoever is speaking saying what they're saying, and what does it mean to us? How will we apply this to our life? What lesson are we learning from what's happening, and so on and so forth. So that's where the emphasis would be in this series of classes. The other point I want to make is that I would really like you to feel at ease. I don't want anybody to feel, oh, people might laugh at me for this question is not very smart, or or they may not understand what I'm trying to say. Please do not worry. And I'm going to ask everyone to not be judgmental. Let's try to make a family out of this collection of people, and feel free to ask questions. Feel free to participate. And I will tell you one thing. What you get out of this is totally up to you. In the sense that if you listen from a perspective of analyzing, what's being said, continuously keep asking yourself, so how does it apply to me? Continuously ask yourself, so what's the real meaning? Don't let me get into the details. Just what's the principle behind it? What is being said? And I know I'm repeating myself, but it's very important that that's the perspective we hear this whole class. And the more you participate, the more comments you make, the more questions you ask, the more you will get out of this course. Is that okay? Should I'm going to ask you to ask any questions you have before I start. Okay, all right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share the screen, because I have some prayers that are known as invocation prayers, and because some of you may not be familiar with them, so therefore I'm going to put them on the screen, and that way if you don't know, you can read it from the screen as we do this. So give me a second, please. Can everyone see invocation prayers? Just one person say yes.
Yes,
Yeah, we can
yes.
do them.
Okay, so we're going to start. The first one is Pranami Mantra, or invocation prayer for Srila Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Next one is for Panchtattva, Lord Chaitanya and his associates. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrenda. Next is called Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And then finally, we offer prayers to each other, all the devotees. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay, then before we start, we want to make sure we understand the norms of this meeting. And one is, and everybody was punctual today, I appreciate it, and I hope that for the next 19 weeks also, we can continue to be punctual. And I've asked for it, and I'm going to repeat, please commit yourself to the entire 20-week series, because you will find that if you leave in the middle, and of course, you're welcome to if you just don't enjoy it anymore, and but if you're able to stay, you get a lot more than if you just decide to leave in the middle of it. I've already said respect for each other, which means an open and friendly environment, totally non-judgmental, respect each other's views, listen to their questions, and try and answer them. Cell phones are omnipresent, so please put them on vibrate and keep them on mute. Sorry, keep yourself, the call on mute unless you need to speak. For those of you who are not very shy, keep the video on, but again, it's totally optional. I'm going to be asking you to do a homework every week, and it's about 15 minutes where I just need you to read the translation of all the verses in the chapter we are covering. So for example, coming weeks homework would be to read, I think there's 44, 45 verses, a translation, English translation of all the verses in chapter 1. Now I'm also assuming, and I've asked this, that every one of you has a copy of Bhagavad Gita as it is, compiled by Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. That's the one we would be following. So if you don't have it, let me know, and I can send you a PDF copy that you're welcome to get it. It's for free. Those of you who really want to get into deeper philosophy, by all means, call me later, and I've given my phone number here, 416-524-4493. You should already have my email. Feel free to call me or send me an email with a detailed question. But other questions, please feel free to ask here. Any questions before we really move into the matter that we're going to cover? Silence means no questions, right? Somebody say yes.
Yes.
Oh, good. Thank you. Okay. So this whole, actually, sorry, before I start that, Bhagavad Gita is part of another larger book. And that book is called Mahabharat. It has 100,000 verses. And I don't know, so many characters that you can't even keep track of. So what I thought I would do is I will start, obviously not in the beginning, but somewhere in the middle, way before Bhagavad Gita happened, and set the scene in terms of what's going on. Why did Krishna need to speak Bhagavad Gita? So I'm going to start with a king whose name was Kuru. Sorry. And in his name that the whole dynasty was named as Kaurava. Literally the meaning of the word Kaurava is one belonging to Kuru. So it was his dynasty. I mean, he had, his parents and all those kind of things, but the dynasty started with him. He was actually his mother was daughter of sun god. Her name was Tapati. The city Kurukshetra is also named after him. Kshetra means field or area or land. and Kurukshetra means field or area or land of Kuru. So, and in those days, it was a much larger land than it is today. Before it was consisting of was today Delhi, Haryana, Punjab, and parts of the western parts of Uttar Pradesh, UP. Now it's a small city, I think in the state of Haryana. Anyway, so he had a bunch of descendants, which is represented by these dashes here. And then a son by the name of Pratipa, who had a son named Shantanu. And this is where the real story starts. So Shantanu was a very powerful king. One day he was wandering around in a forest, I guess gone for a walk, and he met a beautiful woman who was Ganga. That's really the person who's flowing in the water from Ganges. Very beautiful woman. Excuse me. So he met her, liked her, and proposed to her right there. And she said she will accept his proposal on one condition, that he never asks what she's doing, why she's doing. And he agreed. There were 7 sons born with Shantanu and Ganga. But every time a son was born, she will go to the river, which was Ganges, and drown the baby. Shantanu had promised he will never ask why she was doing what she was doing, and try to stop her. So he tolerated for 7 babies. But when the 8th was born, and she was going to the Ganges to drown him, he went after her and asked her, "Why are you doing this?" and tried to stop her. So she reminded him that the condition of the marriage was that as soon as you ask me this question, try to stop me, I will leave you. So I'm going to leave you, but I will answer your question. And the answer was that there were 8 demigods, collectively known as Vasus. One day they were going somewhere with their wives, and they happened to go to the ashram, the hermitage of Vasishtha Muni, who had a cow by the name of Surabhi. She was a Kamdhenu, desire-fulfilling cow. So these boys, they decided to steal the cow and got caught. They started arguing with Vasishtha Muni. So he cursed 7 of them to become human. Cursed all of them to become humans. So they started to apologize and they prayed for relief. And he said, okay, fine. To the 7 of them, he said, you'll be born and then dead almost immediately. So you'll have only short time as a human and you come back as a demigod. But the one who was actually pulling the cow, he was upset with him. And he said, you will have to stay there for a long time as a human. And so he apologized and he said, in that case, you'll still have to stay a long time, but you'll be at least a very brave, a great man, very learned, and a great warrior. So that son was later known as Bhishma, but his name on birth was Devrata. So that's the son that survived out of the 8. Shantanu, having lost his wife Ganges or Ganga, was very sad. So one day he was wandering around the forest, I guess the eastern side of the forest, I'm just joking. And he met another beautiful woman. Her name was Satyavati. She was an adopted daughter of a fisherman. He fell in love with her and proposed to her. And she said, I have to talk to my father. And the father said, you can marry my daughter, provided her son becomes the king. And Shantanu said, no, I already have a son, Devrata. So he's the original heir to the throne. Therefore, I cannot give you that promise. So the father said, in that case, no marriage. And Shantanu came back. Devrata heard that. He loved his father very much. So he went to Satyavati and her father and said, I promise to renounce the throne, so you don't have to worry. And your children or your son would become the king. In which case the father said, well, okay, I believe you that you will not take the throne, but maybe you'll get married and your son will be the older one and he'll get the throne. At that time, Devrata said, okay, I promise you that I will never marry. And it was such a great vow that he was given the name Bhishma, which means somebody who's very strong and very steady. So when Bhishma promised that, the father agreed to marry Satyavati to Shantanu. Now they got married. Together, they had 2 children. One was named Vichitravirya here. Other was named, I'm sorry. Oh, I forgot to change. One was Chitrangada, my mistake. I did change the name. Chitrangada and Vichitravirya. Excuse me. Vichitravirya, Chitrangada was a great warrior. And he fought many, many wars. But then he fought a war with the king of the Gandharvas, which are some kind of demigods. The battle went on for 3 years. And ultimately, the Gandharva king killed Chitrangada. At that time, Vichitravirya was just a little boy, 7, 8 years old.
Sorry, may I interrupt?
Yes, please.
I just wanted to see here, both the names I see, Vijit.
No, that's what I made a mistake. This is Chitrangada.
Chitrangada?
Yeah, this is Chitrangada.
Okay.
And this is I'm sorry, my mistake. I kept.
No, it's okay. I'm writing notes because I love the story.
Great. Okay. Yeah. So this is Chitrangada.
Thank you.
And this is Vichitravirya. So Chitrangada is now dead. This guy died in the war, in the battle, I mean. This guy was a kid at that time. So Bhishma said, I'll be the caretaker king until you grow up. So finally, when he grew up, Bhishma appointed him to the throne and he started looking for a suitable girl to marry him. And he heard about a Swayamvar ceremony going on in Kashi. Kashi Raja's 3 daughters were going to get married. So he went and kidnapped all 3 of them. One was Ambika here, one was Ambalika, and this 3rd one that's not shown here, her name was Amba. Amba said, I have already promised my heart, I gave my heart to somebody else, so I don't want to marry the person you want me to marry. So he let her go. And Ambalika and Ambika married Vichitravirya. So now the 3 of them were living happily, but not ever after. About 7 years later, Vichitravirya developed TB, tuberculosis, and died before he could have a son, either with Ambika or Ambalika. Now there was a crisis in the kingdom because there's no heir. Bhishma has already said, I will not sit on the throne, I will not be the king, and there's no heir. So what to do? So Satyavati invited Bhishma and said, you are the older brother of Vichitravirya. So by scriptures, you're allowed to have baby with your brother's wife. And he refused. He said, no, I already promised celibacy. So Satyavati didn't know what to do. Then she remembered that when she was not married, she had met a famous sage by the name of Parashar. He's a very, very famous sage. And he came to her boat as she was rowing it and expressed a desire to have a son with her. She was scared, but she agreed. And as a result, Vyasdev, the famous Vyasdev, who wrote Mahabharat, who wrote all the Puranas, was born. So in that sense, he was also a stepbrother of Vichitravirya. So she invited him to come and produce children. So he came, and first Ambika was sent to him. When she saw him, she was so scared of his whole appearance, his dress, his matted hair, his looks, the effulgence on his body, all that. She was totally scared, and she closed her eyes. As a result, she had a son who was blind at birth, and his name was Dhritarashtra. So that's how Dhritarashtra was born to Ambika. And then Satyavati sent Ambalika to Vyasdev. Ambalika saw Vyasdev and she was so scared, she turned pale. She didn't close her eyes, but she turned pale. So she had a son whose name was Pandu, but he was sick right from birth, very, very sick, very pale colored, very sick. So when that happened, Satyavati sent Ambalika again to Vyasdev. I said, you need to have one more child. But this time, Ambalika sent her maid to Vyasdev. Maid was kind of bold person. She didn't get scared. She didn't get turned pale. And she accepted Vyasdev. And therefore, she had a child who was very healthy by the name of Vidura. Very healthy, very knowledgeable, very religious, and later on played a very important role in educating or trying to educate Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana and all those kind of people. So anyway, so that's how the three brothers, Dhritarashtra, Pandu, and Vidura, they were born. So Bhishma kept the responsibility of being a caretaker king until these three boys, Dhritarashtra, Pandu, and Vidura, grew up. They became older, and then he got them married. He got Dhritarashtra married to the princess from Gandhar. By the way, Gandhar is now in what's known as Afghanistan. He got Pandu, so that's Gandhari. Her name was Gandhari. So Dhritarashtra and Gandhari here. Pandu married Kunti, famous Kunti, who's a sister of Lord Krishna. And Vidura is not shown here, but he married a girl whose name was Sulabha. Now, Sulabha was the daughter of Devaka. Devaka is the father of Devaki. And I know there's so many names, but just so you understand, Devaki is mother of Krishna. So maternal grandfather of Lord Krishna is Devaka. He had a daughter with a maid servant in the kingdom whose name was Sulabha, and she married Vidura. So that's the three wives there. Now, one thing interesting happened is Gandhari had a brother who really loved her a lot. His name was Shakuni. Shakuni was very upset that my sister is having to marry a blind person. And he got even more upset when Gandhari said she's going to live like a blind person, and she blindfolded herself. And he said to himself, what kind of life is my sister going to have because of this man? And at that time, he decided he's going to destroy this man, Dhritarashtra, and his entire clan. And he came with Gandhari to Hastinapur. And we'll see later on how much harm he caused in this clan. Pandu married Kunti, as I was saying. Now they were all grown up. So therefore, Bhishma said, let's call the assembly, the royal assembly, and decide who's going to be the king, and then appoint him so that I get rid of my responsibilities. So the royal assembly was called, and people expressed their opinions. And majority of the people said, Dhritarashtra is the oldest, and therefore by rights, he should be the king. However, his blindness disqualifies him from becoming the king. Therefore, he cannot be the king. Pandu is sick. Although he's a great warrior, but he's still very sick. So he's not all that qualified. And Vidura is automatically disqualified because his mother is a maid servant. So then what to do? Back to the same stalemate. So then they said, we'll do a compromise. We'll agree to appoint Pandu as the king. So the Pandu was appointed the king of the Kuru dynasty. And then life started. So when this happened, Dhritarashtra accepted it outwardly, but he was burning with envy. He could not tolerate the fact that just because of his blindness, his right to become the king had been taken away. Then he tried to console himself and started hoping that somehow or the other, I'll have a son who will be older than any son of Pandu. And therefore, at least he will become the king by the rules. So he started praying and trying to have a child before Pandu did. And he was happy with the thought that if he could not become the king, at least his son would be the king, and that's fine. In the meantime, Pandu had gone hunting for a deer, but accidentally killed a sage who was having a union with his wife. And before the sage died, he cursed Pandu that you have killed me when I was trying to have a baby. And therefore, I curse you that anytime you associate with your wife, you will die. Oh, I forgot to mention that. Pandu also married another girl by the name of Madri. So he had two wives, Kunti and Madri. So when Pandu heard that, obviously he was very discouraged. And he decided he was going to spend some time in a forest. So Pandu, his wife Kunti, and his wife Madri, they all went to a forest. There one day they were talking and they said, we need to have progeny, but I can't do that because of the curse of what to do. So Kunti reminded him that she had been given a boon, a benediction, by a sage by the name of Durvasa, that she can invoke any demigod and have a baby. So he asked her to do that. So she invoked Yamaraj and had Yudhishthir. She invoked the wind god and had Bhima. And she invoked Indra. Indra, and she had Arjun. And then Madri was in the same boat, so Kunti shared the mantra with her, and she invited the Ashwini Kumaras, two twin demigods who are actually doctors. And with them, she had Nakul and Sahadev. So Yudhishthira was the oldest, next Bhima, then Arjun, then Nakul, and then Sahadev.
Prabhuji, which god was Bhima's father?
Wind.
Wind?
Vayu. Wind.
Okay. Thanks.
Air. Okay?
Thank you.
Sure. So, and when Yudhishthira was born, the word went, like they were still in the forest, the word went to Hastinapur, to Dhritarashtra and Gandhari, that Kunti already gave birth to a child. Gandhari was still pregnant, not delivered. So she got so upset, she picked up a stone and hit her stomach very hard with that. As a result, the embryo in her womb broke into 100 pieces and she had a miscarriage. Vyasadeva just happened to be visiting them at that time. When he saw that, he collected the 100 pieces in 100 different earthen pots. And he did some mantra and all that. And after 1 year, Duryodhan and 99 other brothers were born. So now Dhritarashtra was the father to have 100 sons, but they were all younger than Yudhishthira. So Pandu's son was now the oldest son and therefore the rightful heir to the kingdom. So Dhritarashtra was completely crushed by this realization that now a son of Pandu and not his own son would be the future king. It literally pushed him into an ocean of envy and anger. And all his actions from that point on were governed by the feelings of envy and anger. Okay, I'm going to stop for a minute. Any questions on the characters? Oh, this Dushala is the sister. So they had a sister also. Kauravas had 100 brothers and a sister Dushala. Any questions on this chart?
Yes,
I have. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. This is fun and overwhelming. This is great. Number one, are we going to be quizzed on these names?
No.
Okay, good. Number two, what?
The only reason I put this chart up was that at least you have some familiarity with the names. If you don't even see it, it will be really going over your head.
Gotcha.
But the story is important because as you'll see, as I explain later on, that knowing who these characters are is very important to understand Bhagavad Gita.
I've never seen it this way, so this is great. Also, what is Krishna's relationship with Kunti again?
Kunti's brother was Vasudev, and Krishna was the son of Vasudev. So Kunti is his aunt, Buaji.
Okay, got it. Okay, got it. Thank you.
Sure.
Mami ji. Kunti
No,
was
Buaji. Bua.
Bua.
Father's sister.
Father's sister.
And also, I wanted to know, like, who was the wife of Vidura?
Her name was Sulabha.
Sulabha.
Prabhu, can you please repeat the different demigods for all the
Sure.
5 Pandavas?
Sure. So Yudhishthir, Yamaraj. Bhima, wind god, air, Vayu. Arjun, Indra. Nakul and Sahadev, Ashwini Kumaras. That will be ASHWINI Kumaras. KUMARA.
And my second question is, who gave Pandu the curse? Who was the...
The name? I forget the name. I forget the name of the say. I can find out for you, but I don't remember it offhand.
Okay.
Also about Sulabha, you mentioned she was the daughter of a maid, which is from Krishna's family?
So Krishna's maternal grandfather. So Krishna's mother Devaki, Devaki's father Devaka.
Oh.
So that grandfather had a son with a maidservant. A daughter, I mean, with a maidservant. She married Vidura.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah,
yes,
Prabhu, one question. Like all these details will be there in the book?
No, these details are not there.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, except for the verses, you won't find the details as I present them in the book. I mean, you may find a sentence here, sentence there, but other than that, no, you won't.
This is so interesting. I never saw this.
Thank you. I made this up.
Yeah, this is really very interesting because we have been doing, but we could not see it on one page. It's so correlated. It's very, it's a unique thing. Can we take the screenshot for it?
You sure can.
Thank you. Someone has mentioned Kindama Rishi cursed King Pandu.
That's possible. That's possible. Okay.
Prabhuji, Vyasdev was the incarnation of Krishna.
Yes, literary incarnation of Krishna. Yes. Otherwise, nobody can write all the Puranas.
Yep. Yeah. That's why I just wanted to be 100% sure again.
Yes. You are 100% right.
I never thought that he was the son of Satyavati. Actually, this is something new for me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I never knew that.
Okay, so I'm going to move. I'm going to stop sharing. And okay, so now where we stopped was that Dhritarashtra has realized that even his son will not become the king. So he was obviously very upset. But then the fate smiled at Dhritarashtra and Pandu died. And at this time, the Pandava brothers were very young, therefore not eligible to become the kings. So Dhritarashtra was made the caretaker king. He was very happy, but he remained envious and angry. And he encouraged his son Duryodhan, I call him the evil prince, to continue with his shenanigans and cause all sorts of difficulties to his cousins, whom Dhritarashtra termed Pandavas, which was, really showing his malice towards these people, because the sons of Pandus are as much of Kauravas as any sons of Dhritarashtra. They're all coming from the same lineage. But he said, no, you're different. You're Pandavas. My sons are Kauravas. Duryodhan, when he was less than 5 years old, he poisoned Bhima, who was 5 years old at that time. But he got no chastisement from his father. On Duryodhan's insistence, later on, Dhritarashtra split the kingdom into 2 parts and gave the useless, unpopulated, barren land to the Pandavas to say, you can go rule there. The rest of the places, Duryodhan's.
Banjar Bhumi de dena.
Banjar Bhumi, yes. So, but, Pandavas said, I got Krishna with us. So with the help of Lord Krishna, and there was a demon whose name was Maya, M-A-Y-A. Not Maya, but Maya. Maya demon, who was a very skilled architect. With his help and Lord Krishna's blessings and encouragement, the Pandavas got the citizens of that area involved, and they turned this barren land into a prosperous area and built magnificent palaces, including one for themselves. This was an amazingly marvelous palace that was built by Maya demon. After some time,
Sorry,
yes, go
sorry.
ahead.
I just wanted to know who is exactly Maya?
Maya is a demon who became friendly with the Pandavas because Arjuna saved his life from a big fire. So he offered his help. And they said, okay. And so he built this house, this palace for them. Okay? Did I answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
All right. So soon, a few years later, they invited Duryodhan and other Kauravas, other kings to attend a function. Now, this palace was designed in a very interesting way. There were some areas which was really a land, solid floor, but looked like water. There were some areas which was actually a pool of water, but looked like solid land. And Duryodhan decided to take a walk around this palace to go see. And he landed where he thought was solid floor and went to the pool. So he was obviously very embarrassed. And he came out. Then he started walking and he saw this area where there's water. So he raised his clothes, his dhoti, up, but it was solid floor. So people, especially including Draupadi, started laughing at him. So when he saw her laughing at him, he was extremely insulted. And then and there decided he's going to take revenge. And he left the place, went home, where he started plotting against the Pandavas. And he had a very capable and evil ally, his material uncle, Shakuni, that I told you about, who had his own reasons to help him. He was there, bent upon destroying this whole dynasty. So he was very happy to help Duryodhan.
Papa, is it called Palace of Illusion?
It's not called that, but there was a lot of illusion in that palace.
Okay.
So like not every area was like that. There were some areas like that, but it was a magnificent palace otherwise. So as I told you already that the whole purpose of Shakuni coming to Hastinapur was to destroy this clan. So he became so-called friend and advisor to Duryodhan and Dhritarashtra, and all his advice sounded great and really sweet to these two people, but they were all aimed at harming them in the long run. And you'll see later on how that happened. So he basically, Shakuni single-handedly ensured that the whole Kaurava dynasty would be finished. So he kept plotting and he kept advising Duryodhan and Dhritarashtra. And a few years later, he advised Duryodhan, Shakuni advised Duryodhan to invite the Pandavas to a gambling match. And the theory was that being Kshatriya, and especially Yudhishthira the way he is, he cannot say no to a gambling match. And Shakuni was a master cheater at this game called Chaupada, Chaupada. And there's a dice that's thrown, and this was what's today known as a weighed dice, which means it's weighed in a way that you can decide by the way you roll it what number will come up. So it's not a fair dice. And so they invited, and by cheating, they defeated the Pandavas. And the Pandavas kept betting more and more stuff. Finally, they gambled away the whole kingdom, their new kingdom. They gambled away their wife, their own freedom, and they became slaves. It was at that point Duryodhana asked his brother, younger brother, Dushasan, to go bring Draupadi into the assembly. And he went there and he pulled her by the hair and dragged her to the assembly in front of literally hundreds of people in the royal assembly. And he tried to strip her naked. And you all know the story about how she begged everybody there to help her. When nobody did, she called for Krishna, who supplied unlimited amount of cloth to save her honor. But after that, the Pandavas, the 5 brothers, and their wife Draupadi were exiled for 13 years. At the end of 13 years, and there's a whole story about what they did in those 13 years. But at the end of 13 years, they came back and they asked for their kingdom back. Once again, encouraged by Shakuni and supported by his father Dhritarashtra, Duryodhana refused to give back the kingdom. The Pandavas tried very hard, but no luck. So they went to Lord Krishna for help. He offered to be the ambassador of peace, and he said he'll go and meet Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana and see if he can convince them to give the kingdom back to the Pandavas. So when he went there, they simply refused to give the kingdom back. So he said, fine, you want to keep the kingdom, keep it. Just give them 5 villages. They are also Kshatriyas. They need a place to rule over. Just give them 5 small villages and they'll be happy. At which time, Duryodhana made his famous statement that not only will I not give the 5 villages, I will not even give you the land the size of a point of a needle. Sui ki nok ke barabar nahi dunga. Not even the size of point of a needle. When Krishna told him that, listen, this kind of obstinacy is not good, it will result in a war. We don't want a war. And also, Duryodhana, I can tell you, if there is a war, you will lose. When Duryodhana heard that, he got very angry. He ordered his soldiers to arrest Lord Krishna. Believe it or not, he ordered them to arrest Lord Krishna. At that time, Lord Krishna got angry and he showed his universal form. Some people in the assembly were able to see, the rest of them just saw big light, great effulgent light. And Lord Krishna left. He went back to the Pandavas, told them what happened, and also told them, now there's no option left but a war. Now we will have a war. That war is known as Mahabharata. It took place in a place called Kurukshetra, the land of Kurus. So that's the story behind what led to this war. Now, the preparations started. The preparations for this war divided this whole family and the whole community and the friends, etc., along the line of loyalties, friendships, and old grudges. Krishna gave a choice to Arjun and Duryodhana between his entire army, which was sizable, or himself, and he said, I will not bear any arms during this war. He gave Arjun the first choice. Arjun said, I want you, my dear Lord Krishna. I don't care for the army. Duryodhana was thrilled, thinking, what a fool Arjuna is, giving up the whole army for one man. So this was a win-win situation in a sense. And both Arjuna and Duryodhana went away happy. Duryodhana not realizing what he had actually lost. And the day for the war came. Unable to participate in the war because of his physical challenges of vision, no vision, Dhritarashtra remained in his palace in Hastinapur. By the way, Hastinapur is now known as Delhi. So now, day one of the war. Just imagine the war is about to start. The two armies with their banners flying are facing each other. Millions of soldiers on each side ready to kill or die. It is said that 640 million people died in that war. Arjun was there too, along with his other 4 brothers. He saw so many of his close relatives, like grandfather Bhishma, all his cousins, his guru Dronacharya, his Kulguru Kripacharya, his uncle Shakuni, and all the sorts of other relatives and friends. When he saw that, for a moment he lost his composure. He's completely lost it. He told Krishna, please take this chariot in the middle of the two armies. I want to see in more detail who's here, who wants to kill me. And later on, we will see when we do chapter 1, all the things he said about how he could not enjoy his kingdom if the price was the blood of his relatives and friends. We'll talk about that later. But I'm going to take a break, and I'm not going to allow you to ask any questions, but I'm going to give you assignment right here on the spot. I want all of you to pretend, but be a really good actor and think you're Dhritarashtra. And tell me what's going on in your head. Why are you letting Duryodhan get away with all this nonsense? Why are you tolerating and encouraging this wrong behavior of Duryodhan? So take 30 seconds to think about this and start volunteering your answers. And when we are done,
revenge.
Sorry?
Putra Moha and revenge.
Yeah, just whatever answer you want to give is fine. I'm just saying this is what I'm looking for. So you're saying, and there's some people here who do not speak Hindi.
Okay.
So we have to stick to English, please.
Okay.
Go ahead.
And there were lots of gurus over there. So he has respect for them.
So the question is, why was Dhritarashtra encouraging and tolerating the wrong behavior of Duryodhan, even to the point of starting this war?
Because
that's the question.
His wife wanted throne.
His wife wanted throne?
Throne, like kingdom. So that's why he was pressurized by her as well.
Oh, okay, all right. So he was pressurized by his wife. Okay.
Because his ego got hurt when he was not chosen the king. So he didn't wanted to suffer his sons to be like that. And secondly, his ego was so prominent on his head that he didn't wanted to think about other things and what is right and wrong.
Okay, sure. What else?
When I think about it, I think of just one word: jealousy.
Jealousy.
He was jealous, like he was jealous of his brother and how he got the throne, and then he wanted his son to get it, but Yudhishthir got it. So jealousy is the main reason why.
Sure.
And now he's okay with it. Like.
And also his extreme affection for his son.
Yes. 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 What else?
Yeah, I also feel that it's because he couldn't fulfill his dreams and he wanted those dreams to be fulfilled through his son.
Yes.
He wanted to see his son as the king.
And
he saw his son what?
As the king. He wanted his son.
Yes.
So he felt that he was being treated like he was treated unfairly, and he didn't want it to be his son to be treated unfairly, and that's why he kept on going, I guess.
Even though by rules it was not unfair that Yudhishthir would become king.
Yes, but he felt that.
Right. I agree.
And the Pandavas were like, more nice people, and as compared to the Kauravas. So he has a jealousy among the cousins. I mean, his children and his brother's children as
Sure.
well.
Because everybody was praising the other children, not his.
Yes,
Correct. Yes,
because
that's
they were
correct.
not as competitive or competent than the Pandavas.
Correct. Correct.
I think he was so affectionate about his sons. He was not able to recognize what is good or what is bad.
Yes, absolutely right.
Blind love. False
Blind love.
blind love and false ego.
As a parents, we love our kids. Like there are no limitations. Either sometime like they are doing wrong, and we know they are doing wrong because, and even though we just pretend like we don't know anything.
Right.
Yeah.
And
This is
because
attachment.
he wants his son to be a king after him, so that's why he wants to protect him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Hare
absolutely right.
Krishna Prabhuji, maybe Maya attacked him.
Sure did.
Maya,
So actually,
attachment also.
yes, totally.
I also
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. What? I couldn't hear.
Prabhuji, I think that Duryodhana was nothing but he was extension of his father's ego. I mean, he was just full.
That's true to some extent. Yeah.
Sure.
I also think, he was very insecure person because he lost his king, like he wanted to be the king, but because Pandu became the king, so he didn't want to feel insecure for his now children, like especially for Duryodhana. So I think there was some kind of jealousy and also insecurity was also there.
Totally.
Yep. So the incompetence as well was there because he was blind.
Yeah.
Sure, of course, he knew that.
He knew that.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Do you think he felt entitled? Do you think he felt entitled to his kingdom?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. He absolutely did. So then the next question is, do you know people like Dhritarashtra?
Yeah.
Real life?
Many.
Right? So there's lots of Dhritarashtras in this world.
Many.
So he was not exceptional situation. So this is very real.
So
Okay.
how do we?
Sorry, go ahead.
So how do we recognize this in me? Like, how do I have that sense of, like, I cannot talk about others, but I can only work on myself.
Of course, absolutely right.
Well, I mean, we're so good at pointing, oh yeah, people have ego, people have this, people have sense of entitlement, but it could be me. So I want to work on me. How do I recognize that?
This is why you need a mentor. This is why you need a spiritual master. This is why you need elders in your family whom you can go and ask for advice, ask for feedback, people you can trust.
Yes.
And you talk to them.
And also to do some soul searching.
Yeah, of course.
You recognize your own, actually, first try to recognize your own drawbacks. What do you think?
Yeah, but it's difficult.
Then you start. It's very difficult. Then from step by step, you can start where to work from.
You need help. And this is why you need the Shiksha Gurus. This is why you need the mentors. This is why you need the elders, friends who are, good friends, not just trying to please you, but tell you what it is. You need all that. And the only thing is you have to have an open mind. Be willing to accept that there may be a fault in you. I know it's hard, but be willing to accept. So let's move on to another person. Let's move on to Duryodhana. And just tell me, and now just all of you imagine you are Duryodhana. I know it's not a good thing, but just imagine for a second. So I'm asking you, why would you kill your cousin when he's 5 years old? Try to kill him. Why would you cheat your cousin in a gambling game? Why would you do something like that to your bhabhi, Draupadi, your sister-in-law? Why would you not listen to Krishna who's telling you what's right, what's wrong? What's going on in your head? So now tell me, what's going on in your head when you're Duryodhan? You're doing all this nonsense.
First
I'm
is
not
the
listening to anybody.
ego.
Huh?
It's a very big ego.
Very big ego. Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Anger problem too.
Anger problem, absolutely. I was a very angry person.
Jealous.
Jealous, of course.
Jealousy. And
Yeah.
the Kaura's wife, Draupadi, Maya, was way too beautiful.
Sorry, say again?
Very beautiful.
Sorry?
She was very beautiful.
Draupadi was very beautiful.
Draupadi.
Okay.
So they were jealous.
Yeah, he wanted her. Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Wanted her.
Yes.
I also think that because he was raised in kind of an environment, so maybe he learned, many of these things from his dad, because he was himself was very not sure person. So maybe he picked up all these, most of these things, what he has seen in his family, that his dad lost the kingdom. So it's, I think, more of a family dynamics too.
Sure. No,
I think he was a symbol of evil actually, and that's how I will describe him. And that's how he was born. I don't think he was developed like that. He was born like that.
I just wanted to kind of re-say what Shilpi Mataji just said. It is about the family. No kid, when a child is born, no kid is evil.
Exactly.
It is how they are raised.
Learned behavior. It's learned behavior.
So maybe the kid saw his father being so jealous and doing all these, being just the negativity, I think, word for the kid to be so evil, I think.
Or maybe Shakti Mama was also nurturing them these thoughts to get against Pandus.
Yeah,
Sorry,
so it's
say
the
again, Anshu?
association.
Anshu, I didn't hear what you said.
I was also filling the mind with the negative thoughts about the family of Pandu. So that's why they were getting many things, because they were not getting any positive thing from any side.
Yes. So he had really bad association.
Mm-hmm.
There was Shakuni encouraging him to do all these bad things. There was Karna encouraging him to do all these bad things. His father encouraging him to do these things. And then he learned from Acharya. His Acharya was his father, was doing all the wrong things. So, and then, getting a bravo pat on the back when he did something bad again. Mm-hmm. So, of course, you'll have a child who does all that. Okay, so now let's change hats again. Now, all of you have been promoted to Krishna. Now you're all Krishna.
Okay.
But I have a question for you, Lord Krishna. My question is, why did you let this war happen? Why did you choose the time you did just before the start of the war to talk about Gita? So 2 questions, but answer first one first. If Krishna wanted, he could stop the war. Why did he let it happen? So you as Krishna answer that.
Maybe he wanted to show that good thing, there is a good always win over the bad things.
Okay.
So that's why he wanted, at that time might be people will be suffering a lot because of bad people, bad kings. So that's why he wanted to establish a Dharmaraj.
Mm-hmm.
He also wanted, as Arjuna was very much attached to the family, being a nice and kind-hearted, he was very attached. So Krishna wanted to show him that materialistic attachment. He wanted to show him about the materialistic attachment, or this life's attachments and the false egos. These are all negative things. They will not gonna take you to the pradhan, right? So this is the time he wanted to share that what the ego is, and what is the materialistic or life world's attachment, which Arjuna was not aware of about it. This was the reason Arjuna was reluctant to do the war or the fight, because his all adults, elderlies, his all gurus were there on the other side.
Okay, all right. What else?
I think
Sorry, go ahead.
So one of the reason is the major reason I believe it's free will. Krishna doesn't he doesn't play with anybody's free will.
Okay.
So it's up to us what we decide, either good or bad.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
No, it makes a lot of sense, but I'm trying to relate that to the question, why did he allow the war to happen? Like he could have stopped it.
I think Krishna wanted to set an example, like basically what is the truth and what are the consequences if you don't accept.
Okay, all right. What else?
I think that's a very great point. Prabhuji just mentioned that you are allowed to make your choices. You can choose what you like, but like how they say is you have to be ready for the consequences.
Mm-hmm.
So Duryodhana and his dad, he has been given warnings. It's not just the war happened. They had this conversation with them, but they are not able to see. They were not able to accept that there is something wrong we are doing, or there's something wrong. It's like a stubborn child who you need to give an example to see it. Unless you get a pat on the back for that there's something wrong you're doing, you don't see it. So I think it's all about making choices and be ready for the consequence. You are free to make that choice, but then, yes, according to Krishna, I think you mentioned that Krishna had a conversation before the war started, where they say, "Give this 5 pieces of land, and they'll be happy." But he was now becoming very greedy.
Yeah. So you got cut off.
Did I?
Shilpi, you got cut off. So
I was saying, the point being is like, you are ready. Krishna had a conversation before the war happened.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody has the right to make the choice, whether it's a good choice and a bad choice. So what Duryodhana did, Duryodhana made a bad choice. So I guess now it's a time for him to face the consequences.
Okay. So your point is that you must pay for your actions sooner or later. And corollary is that the righteous will always win over the evil.
I think so.
Later,
that's what my point. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I agree with that. Anybody else?
If someone... Go ahead.
Go ahead.
If someone does a bad thing before, he will remember Mahabharat to destroy.
Very good. Yes, absolutely right. You got it.
I had the same point actually. You took my point.
There you go.
My point was that, okay, if I am in the head of Krishna right now and I need to think, why am I making this decision? Why can't I just snap my fingers and just let it all go away? Because this is not just a lesson for the people that are just there, but this is for the people who are to come in the future.
Yes, absolutely right.
For us right now.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah. So
exactly right. So he also had a hidden agenda.
Yeah.
Hidden agenda was that there were a lot of Kshatriya kings who were not very good. They were evil. He wanted to kill them all to lighten the weight, the burden of Mother Earth.
Yep.
And he said, so I'll get them all together in one place and get rid of all of them. So that was another reason he didn't stop the war. He also wanted his devotee to get the glory. This was his way of glorifying Arjuna with the victory in the battle against so many formidable warriors. Krishna says, I killed them all already, but he was letting Arjuna take the credit. Okay.
That's good. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. Okay, all right. So
I just wanted
that means that he basically favored Arjuna. Arjuna had his favor, had his back.
Well, he had his back. That's not the same as playing favorites. Krishna is neutral to everybody.
To glorify the devotee.
But he has a soft corner for the devotee. But he's saying it doesn't matter who you are. If you're If you're righteous, you will win. If you're evil, you will lose. Right? And Sanjaya, who is the narrator of the Bhagavad Gita to Dhritarashtra, he says at the end of it, says, wherever there's Krishna, there's victory. So that's the other thing. Whichever side Krishna is on, that's the side is going to win, no matter what or who the enemy is. No matter what power, what resources you have, one on the side of Krishna will win. There's no argument about this, no alternative to that. That's it. Okay, should we continue?
Prabhuji, I have a question.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I mean, whenever I see Mahabharata, I see it was a war between actually Dhritarashtra and Krishna. I mean, it was Dhritarashtra's ego and like Krishna on the other side. Obviously, Shakuni was also a main factor for the war. When you were telling the family history, you told that Gandhari actually, she had a miscarriage. And then the Rishi, he came and then like he used that time IVF and things in the force, and that's how 99. He was a Brahm Rishi. So he knew that he had the Divya Drish to see that if miscarriage had happened, it could have just gone like that. I mean, why he saved Duryodhana and all the factors it contributed, whether he was born to Dhritarashtra, whether he was born to Dhritarashtra, his environment, and then his association, everything contributed, and then the jealous contributed to what Duryodhana became. I always think that why Rishi Vedvyas, he saved that mom, and then that ended up being like Duryodhana and his brothers. I mean, I'm really curious about this question.
Yeah. So once again, Vyasdev is playing the role of a character in the drama that Krishna is playing.
Yes.
So everybody has a role. And they do that. Duryodhana had a role, Arjun had a role, Krishna had a role, Vidura had a role. They all played their part very well. And like, by the way, that game is still going on. Today in the world, each one of us playing a role. We're all actors on the stage of the world. And some of us are good actors, some of us are bad actors. Some of us are good apples, some are bad apples. But we're all playing a role. So similarly, the script had been written by Krishna. And Vyasdev had a role to play in it. First to give birth to the babies, and then to save the babies after that.
May I try to answer this, her question?
Sure.
May I try?
Sure, please.
Maybe Krishna
Can you put your
wants
video
to...
on?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Maybe
That's
Krishna
fine.
wants to teach. Maybe Krishna wants to teach us if there's something bad is happening, like we have to act on it. Like people, Duryodhana was very bad. So we need to stand against those people and fight for our rights. We cannot tolerate over and over and over. We have to stand. Maybe this is what Krishna wants to teach.
Sure.
Because Kaljug is coming at that time. I think Kaljug was starting. So Krishna wants to teach the Kaljugi people how to react. Cannot tolerate things which are unfavorable to us. Maybe that's why Mahabharata started.
Well, so there were a number of reasons. That's one of them, yes.
One of them, yes.
Yes, absolutely right. Okay, anybody else?
I strongly feel it was a drama written by Krishna, and he had so many things attached to it, not one.
Yes, that's right, exactly.
And our wisdom is nothing actually, so we cannot think like how many things were attached to it.
And that's okay. That's okay also. I think the idea is that we start thinking, and that's the main thing. Let's start thinking about what's happening, why it's happening. And then we can start relating to our own lives, people we meet, people we work with, people we live with, etc., people we go to temple with, all those kind of things. And then you start looking at people and say, okay, this is what he's trying to do, and then say, how do I deal with this? I mean, Mahabharata is a very educational book. It is, it really is. And all the intrigue, the family feud and all those kind of things, they're happening today. To the lesser degree, because people are getting killed, or most of the time anyway. But it's all happening today also. And we should be
have a book
asking
name?
ourselves, are we being more like Duryodhan or are we being more like Arjuna or something in between? And let's ask ourselves, what would Arjuna have done? What would Duryodhan have done? What should I do in this situation? And that's the whole idea. Let's start thinking. So somebody was trying to say something.
I was just saying, you said the Mahabharata is a very good. I haven't seen a book Mahabharata. Do we have one?
Yes. Yes.
So that being said, that if there was no Krishna, what would have Arjuna done? He wouldn't have fought with them because he was not in favor of the war.
So your question is, would Arjuna
I know
fought?
this was destined. This was all well written before Krishna, right? I mean, Krishna wanted the way everything is, worked by Krishna. But if there was no Krishna, Arjun wouldn't have done this war with his brothers.
That's a very great question.
So
because
I mean,
he did not want the war.
We can speculate, but what's the use of speculating? We don't know.
I know, we don't know. This is our mythology, right? He wouldn't have, because he was very, very reluctant. He was so scared to lose his
let me,
blood relatives.
Have you heard the expression straw person? You are my straw person. Do you know what that means? Do you know that expression? Yes,
What's
no?
the expression?
Straw man or straw person.
Straw man, okay.
Do you know what that is?
Is it the one that stands in the...
No.
Straw man?
No. A straw man is a person who asks a question that was about to be answered by the speaker. So that's the expression that we use when we make presentations. Somebody just by chance asks a question that I was just going to cover. So, okay, you're my straw person or straw man.
That happens all the time, huh?
Happens a lot. So let me answer that question by telling you what I was going to tell you anyway. So now, and we'll talk in more detail next week, but now Arjuna is seeing all these people. And he says to himself, do I want to kill them? Just so I can enjoy my kingdom. Am I not better off just going to a forest, forget the war, forget the kingdom, and be happy somewhere else? I don't want to kill the men, so women will be in trouble, and then whole families will be destroyed, on and on and on. And he says, Krishna, I can't fight. And he puts his bow down and says, I'm not fighting. Just like Mataji is saying, I'm not fighting. But here comes the question. Who's Arjun? Arjun is not an ordinary person like you and me. Arjun is a very elevated, exalted devotee. An ordinary person does not become friend of Krishna. In Bhagavad Gita later on, Arjun says, when he sees the universal form, my dear Krishna, I'm so sorry. I used to be so informal with you. I'd lie down in the same bed. I'll eat from the same plate. I'll call you by your first name. I'm so sorry. So an ordinary person does not become like that. Which means Arjun was not just a highly intelligent person, he was very knowledgeable. He was totally above ignorance. He knew the philosophy better than any one of us will ever know. He knew the right from the wrong. He had no attachment. He was a totally detached person, like all people full of knowledge are. He understood the philosophy very well. But Krishna was there. So in order to teach people like me and you, Krishna deliberately put him in a state of ignorance and material attachment, just so Arjun could ask Krishna about the problems of life, just so that Lord could explain those things for our benefit, for all the future generations of human beings. But even as confused as Arjuna was at that time, he still had enough intelligence left in him, despite all that confusion and mixed emotions that he had, that he accepted that he has a problem. He accepted that he needs to clear his doubts. And he understood the need of a guru, need of a mentor. And he accepted that he needed help from a superior authority. So what did he do? He surrendered to Arjuna. When we go to chapter 2, we will see how quickly Arjuna surrenders to Lord Krishna and says, I'm confused. I'm overwhelmed. I can't think straight. My mind is reeling. My body is shivering. So you please become my guru. You please tell me what is my duty at this time. And we will see in chapter 2 and later on how Krishna responded. You will also note that throughout chapter 1, it's Arjuna only who is speaking. Krishna doesn't say a word. He simply listens. He doesn't give any instructions until Arjuna says, I surrender. You please tell me what I should do. And then what Arjuna really was saying was that I will listen to you submissively, which means that I will accept whatever you say. I will not argue for the sake of arguing. I will ask questions. I will not accept anything blindly, but I will not argue for the sake of arguing. And because Arjuna said that, he also said, and therefore I will act according to your instructions. And that is real surrender. And because Arjuna did that, he acted according to Krishna's instructions, some of which were very harsh, by the way. Arjuna came out victorious from this whole war. And that's the lesson for us. If we follow Krishna's instructions, we will win our war. And we are all at war. Not just war with Maya, but all the subcomponents of Maya in different forms, in different ways, different times, but we're constantly battling this or that, a different form of Maya. And we'll emerge victorious if we listen to Krishna's instructions. We can perfect our human life if we listen to Krishna's instructions. We can win over Maya if we listen and follow Krishna's instructions. Now they had this dialogue. There's a long dialogue. Krishna spoke something like 545 verses out of 700 Bhagavad Gita. And Krishna addressed all the doubts. And he addressed the indecision that Arjuna was facing, which was, as Mataji was saying, should I fight or not fight? Should I kill my friends and relatives or not do that? Krishna is going to address all the questions that Arjuna is asking, and Krishna is going to offer alternative solutions in the form of different paths of knowledge and practices known as yoga. We'll discuss them all in great detail. And in the process, he will also establish his supremacy as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He will talk about the need to serve him, which serving him is known as bhakti, as you know. And he will establish that bhakti yoga is the highest form of yoga. And he answers a lot of questions from Arjuna that relate to our everyday problems. And as we go through these 20 weeks, we'll try to relate the questions that Arjuna is asking with our everyday problems. We'll try to relate the answers that Krishna gives with how we can apply them to our life. And Arjuna says that, look, I will accept everything you say. And he says that you are not an ordinary human being. You're Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the point I'm trying to make is, therefore, as we go through the 20 weeks, we should look at instructions of Krishna, accept them and take them in a spirit of devotion and submission. Unless we hear Bhagavad Gita in a spirit of submission, we're not going to understand it. Just not going to understand it because it will remain a great mystery. And that's why in the 4th chapter in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna actually tells Arjuna that I'm telling you all these mysteries because you're my devotee or you're my friend. Otherwise, I won't bother. So the whole purpose of Bhagavad Gita is to deliver us, the whole mankind, from the ignorance of material existence. We are all in difficulty, and not in just one way, in so many ways. Just like Arjuna was having all these battles, all these people during this battle. But he surrendered to Krishna. As a result, Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita. And he left it behind for us to Vyasdev. Recognizing that not just Arjuna at that time, but all of us, all the time, are full of anxieties because of our material existence. Material existence, by definition, is full of miseries and is temporary in nature. Anything that exists today will be gone tomorrow. So even though we, the spirit soul, is eternal, but somehow or the other, we, the eternal, have been put in a place called material world, which is temporary and full of miseries. And somehow we have to go through this. But now that we've got a human form, we have the option of getting out. But we have to make that choice. We have to take that. And a good starting point is trying to understand how we can apply the messages of Bhagavad Gita in our life. And that's the only time or the only way we will understand what Krishna is trying to tell Arjuna. At the risk of repeating myself, I just want to say again that a sincere student of Bhagavad Gita should have firm respect and firm faith in Krishna as Supreme Personality of Godhead. Another point I want to make is Bhagavad Gita is actually essence of all Vedic wisdom, all Vedic knowledge, and therefore is above all doubts and all mistakes. In other words, what Krishna says can and will clear any doubts we may have. And there are no mistakes in the message. What that also means is that we cannot be choosy. We cannot say, I like section 5 and 9 and 14, but I don't like chapter 3 and 4 and 7. Or I like what it says in verse number this, but I don't like what it says in that. No, it's a complete package. It's all or nothing. It's just like the city bylaws. You cannot say, I don't like the law regarding the parking violations, but I like everything else. No, it's not a choice. Whatever Krishna said has to be taken as a whole, without our mundane interpretation, without any deletion, or without any addition, any whimsical addition on our part. So we have taken it as is, and that's why Prabhupada made so many types of as is. Don't change anything. Don't delete, don't add. Because if we do add or delete, we immediately introduce our own 4 faults that all of us as human beings have. And they are, we're prone to make mistakes. We have a tendency to cheat, not just others. Sometimes we cheat ourselves. We have imperfect senses, and we are all in illusion. We don't know the truth. We get confused easily.
Yeah.
So therefore, we need to accept it. And there's a book called Gita Mahatmya. It says that most people, if not everybody, wants one book, one God, one religion, one occupation. And if that's what you want, one God is Krishna, one book is Gita. Let's go that. And there's one mantra only. What's that mantra?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And let there be one work only. That is serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. Finally, I want to say that Bhagavad Gita, just to support what I was saying, is known as Samvad. Now, I know a lot of you may not understand Sanskrit, so I'm going to explain. There are three words: Samvad, Vivad, and Apavad. Samvad is a dialogue between two people or two groups of people who basically agree with each other. But there's a lot of question and answers simply to better understand the point, or to enhance the point, or ask for further clarification or elaboration. Vivad, on the other hand, the dialogue between two people who agreed to disagree no matter what.
Argument.
It's the government, for example. It doesn't matter who's in the power, who's in opposition. The opposition has only one role. Whatever the government says or does, they must oppose. And I don't know if you work for I used to work for the government for 2 years. And I know firsthand, there are many committees that are multi-party committees. They meet, they agree. The government then presents that proposal in the parliament. And the opposition that had agreed opposes, because that's their role. And when they realize they cannot oppose because the public wants it, then they simply say, you should have done more. In other words, they cannot agree. That's Vivad. Apavad is exception. Where there is a rule, but here and there is an exception. In the spiritual world, there is no exception. There is no Vivad. There's only Samvad. So if you want to really understand Bhagavad Gita, then we have to go to the spiritual world. Make this world a spiritual world in the sense that we accept the messages of Bhagavad Gita, but we ask million questions to understand them better. We ask another million questions to understand how we apply it to our life. We ask another million questions to say, yeah, some of it is making sense. Let me see if I understand this enough to explain to somebody else. If you can do that, we will know that whatever Krishna advised is perfect, does not require my mundane interpretation, because then there'll be 4 defects introduced. It applies to all aspects of my life. And it doesn't matter if I'm American, Canadian, Indian, or I live in Canada, America, or India, or wherever, it applies equally. And if we understand all that, we will really enjoy the next 19 weeks. I guarantee you that. So I'm going to stop and I'm going to open this for questions, comments, realizations, disagreements. Today you can do Vivad, that's okay. Next week on, we only do Samvad, where we ask questions for elaboration. And anytime I see some silence, I will ask the questions. And you have to answer it. Okay, the floor is yours. Oh, I just realized that I'm 9 minutes over. Sorry, I apologize. I did not realize that. So quickly, if you have any quick questions, we'll answer them.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandat Pranam. This is Janki Jeevan.
Hare Krishna, Janki Jeevan, Prabhu, welcome.
I just joined you.
Good to see you.
Last half an hour, Prabhuji. Very nice class. I just wanted to add to your thing that you're trying to explain that why Bhagavad Gita was.
Can't hear. You're breaking up, Prabhu.
Now it is good, Prabhuji. It's okay now?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you.
So, Prabhuji, I just want to add, in chapter 1st, and I think 141, Arjuna says that if I kill all the family members, then there would be all unwanted varnashram, like all unwanted population. Krishna listens peacefully, and then he answers him back in chapter 3, I think text 24. Same thing. He said, okay, if you don't kill them, even then there will be varna ashram, there will be unwanted population, because these people are with a like asura mentality, so they will still have the unwanted population. So both way is unwanted population will happen anyway. But the Lord was listening to Arjuna, and he explained the same question in the same way, because as a human, we are not able to understand which is right and what is wrong. That's why this manual of humankind was spoken. So I just wanted to add to this.
Thanks so much, Babu. I appreciate that. Any other comments, questions, corrections, realizations?
I will only give one comment. I am so happy to see so many young people in this one.
Yes,
I'm
yes,
really
yes.
very
Me too.
happy.
Yeah, it's a very good one.
Like
Thank
I can
you.
see the future of our generation. Like I'm so delighted to
More
see
and more
that.
young people should come.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm very happy as well.
Yep. Good. Thank you, Prabhuji, so much.
And I always say, like, Hindu religion is run by women, and I can see the majority of the attendees are women. I can see that again. I say that all the time.
Okay. Thank you.
No, they are more religious and more eager to know more and more about the God.
Sure, sure.
And man generally takes the back seat.
No, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji is different. Prabhuji is different always.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Any other comments?
Thank you so much.
Anyone?
I have a question, Prabhuji. Do we have only once a week class?
Yes, brother.
Can we not have twice a week?
Well, the problem is all my weeknights are busy. I'm doing something or the other every weeknight, Monday through Saturday, and Sunday sometimes the temple programs. So that's my challenge.
We can request Prabhuji. He can do every day.
Thank you, but I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Very nice class, Prabhuji. Really.
Thank you so
there-
much, Prabhuji. See you next week.
Yes. Is there anything that we did today that you would want done differently next week?
Yeah.
Prabhuji, thank you very much. You found time for all of us.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Prabhuji,
Thank you.
just a
Hare Krishna.
quick question.
Very much. Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So if anybody wants to leave, they can. Those who want to ask questions, they can stay.
Prabhuji, I just have a quick question.
Yeah,
I
please
missed
go ahead.
the beginning part. So how can I
Can you please
catch
put
that?
your video on?
Oh, sorry. I missed the beginning part. How can I catch that?
So I think I'm recording it, so I can send the recording.
Oh, please. Thank you. That will
I
help
just
me
have
a
to
lot.
make sure I know how to save it. But yeah.
Okay. Then I can make my kids to hear that too. That will be nice.
Of course. Thank you.
Okay, sorry. I can't adjust my video. Okay. Thank you.
It's all right. Thank you. Anything else?
Thank
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Vinit.
As always, amazing lecture.
Thank you, bro.
I'm wondering, probably for like every chapter, will you be able to, for our own benefit, and also we are lazy, like summarize like few important verses? You say, okay, you can sort of take these and start thinking about how to implement more of these verses in our lives. Something we can take and sort of put right into our daily lives, so that we can get a better feel for how we can make more use of it, so to speak.
Sure. So very good idea. What I will do is in every chapter, I will give you a list of the verses that are very important.
Okay, perfect.
And then it's up to you what you do with them. Sometimes people like to memorize them. Some people just like to go back and read them again and again. Whatever you want to do, but I can give you a list.
Okay, that's really perfect.
Sure, bro. Thank you.
Will you send that list via email?
Yeah, yes, that's what I'll do.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Sure, thank you. Glad you could join us.
Of course.
So what's the homework for us for next time?
Oh, thank you. So as I was saying in my email, just read the English translation of all the verses in chapter 1.
Yeah, he told in the beginning.
Right? It will take total of 15 to 20 minutes. That's it. And you have a whole week to do that.
So, sorry, so we're reading the translations and the verses.
No,
Chapter 1.
just the translations.
Simple.
Just the translation.
Just the
Very
translation.
simple.
If you want to read the verse, fine, go ahead. You want to read the purport, go ahead. But the homework is just read the translation.
Translation. Okay. Okay. Sounds good.
So chapter 1 for this.
Yes,
homework?
chapter 1 for coming week. This was just to get you started, get you warmed up.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I
Hare
just
Krishna.
had one final question.
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
won't be able to turn on the video because I'm charging as well.
Oh, that's all right.
My question was, what is the kind of, so you mentioned that the kind of mindset that we want to have is I forgot the Sanskrit word that you were talking about, the 3 and the 1, the samvad,
Yes.
samvad.
Yeah, samvad.
Yeah. So my question was, even while reading it, what are some of the things that we can keep in mind so that we can make the most out of it, in terms of understanding each of the verses?
Yeah, so good question. So first thing is come with the thought that whatever Krishna is saying is correct. If I'm not agreeing with it, it simply means I don't understand what he's saying. And that's when you ask a question to clarify your understanding. Yeah, as Usha Mata says, have faith in Krishna that he won't lie to you. So if he's saying something, it must be right. If it's not making sense to me, it's because I don't understand. So let me ask. Let me ask for a repeat of the explanation, or whatever doubts are coming, let me clarify them right now so that I will understand this before we move to the next one. If you do that, you'll find that your understanding develops better and better and better, and your doubts have been clarified, and you will know how to apply. Or you can even ask, so I'm not sure how to apply this in my life. Tell me how to apply this, Palak, and we can have a discussion. That's okay.
Yeah, because even today, I found it very useful when you were like, okay, get in the headspace of Duryodhan and Krishna and
Right.
Dhritarashtra. Like that really kind of helped me understand how the mind is working, and how it can work, and how sometimes in everyday life, I think Neetu Mataji was asking this question as well, what do we do? And you said to trust in gurus and everything. So I had this in mind. The first step is to accept and realize what are the qualities, the flaws that you have. And first, if you can realize that, and after that, at least what is it that you're trying to seek out,
Right.
So that kind of helped me. But then while reading the Bhagavad Gita as well, I want to have that curious mindset, because when I personalize things, I think it works better for me.
Everybody, and that's what I'm going to try and do in this series.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think makes it different from other classes that we attend for Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah.
That's why I'm not going so deep in the philosophy, just staying on the surface, but trying to understand how does it apply to me.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so
You're
much
very
for
welcome.
the session and answering.
Thank you for asking that question. That's a very good question. Anything else? Okay, and thank you so much again. I really appreciate your attendance and I appreciate your participation. That's what makes it useful, worthwhile for me. When I get participation, when I get lots of questions and comments, then I feel that people are really into it. They're getting what we're saying, and that increases my own enthusiasm. So I really appreciate it. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you
And
so
see you.
much. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you.
Hare Krishna.
I see you next Thursday.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
चलो जी करो मन। हरे कृष्ण बाबा।